Good morning, everyone. I acknowledge that we're gathering on the traditional territory of Treaty 6. I also acknowledge the Métis people of Alberta who share a deep connection with this land. I'm joined this morning by Nora Yagi, owner of Zen Blossoms, and mom to 3 young boys. Tomorrow will mark just 2 weeks since the UCP government unveiled their no-help budget, and already they're in full rewrite mode. That's because there's no help in this budget for Alberta families who are suffering with punishing monthly bills. On top of outrageous utility bills, the UCP is forcing Albertans to pay more property tax, more school fees, more tuition, more student debt interest, more camping fees, and more for car insurance. And just yesterday, in estimates, the UCP confirmed that they will continue with bracket creep for the remainder of their fiscal plan. And it will cost Albertans $1 billion, I'm sorry for the mistake, in new taxes. So $1 billion in new taxes. Sure, Jason Kenney used to rage about the federal Liberals for this, but bracket creep has become the official policy of the UCP. And it's costing Alberta families $1 billion in Alberta taxes. I can't stress this enough. I've heard from so many St. Albertans who are worried about the future and how their families will get through this extremely challenging time with a UCP government they just can't trust. The only acknowledgement of the soaring monthly costs in the no-help budget was the so-called natural gas rebate, which turned out to be completely fake. Alberta families won't see a rebate this winter, and it's highly unlikely that any Albertan will ever get a rebate from this fake program at all. The budget has no mention of a gas tax holiday, and there's nothing in the pile of papers about the totally inadequate $50 electricity rebate that was announced on Monday. Alberta's finance minister was confronted at a town hall in Grand Prairie last Friday by a woman who had a $1,900 electricity bill, more than double her bill from this time last year. The very empathetic minister said he couldn't afford to pay his own electricity bill. Well, if Alberta's finance minister, who takes home more than $250,000 a year in salary and benefits and expenses, claims he can't afford his bill, how in the world does he expect other Albertans, other hardworking Albertans, to be able to afford their skyrocketing bills? So now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Nora.
Thank you, Marie, for inviting me to voice my concerns about the high cost of living we're experiencing right now. It's been a tough first 3 months of 2022, and I finally reached out this week because I could not contain my disappointment with the UCP any longer. When they announced that they were going to provide Albertans with a $50 rebate from the high utility costs, I found it laughable if it didn't mean that it impacted so many people's lives. We signed up for fixed electricity in December 21, but we are still paying an average of $140 more a month than we were at the same time last year. And for gas, the increase is about the same. So $50 a month for 3 months is not going to ease the burden for anyone who is seeing the same bills we are. And I know many people have much higher bills than we do, and I just don't know how they're getting by. As for pausing the fuel tax, if the savings even ever make it to the consumer, it'll mean about $10 more a month for our household. Today it costs us $25 more than it did just 2 months ago to fill up the tank in our car. These extra costs are just making everything more challenging, and we, like so many Albertans, have to make very deliberate choices, and we're prioritizing spending money where we can. Groceries are costing more for less. We have 3 boys, 10, 8, and 4, and we're paying an average of $300, usually more, per trip to the grocery store, and that's for 7 to 10 days worth of groceries. Although I make grocery lists and meal plans and buy the lowest cost items, every week we seem to bring home less and less. Because of the high fuel prices, our family is basically down to essential travel only. We don't really just hop in the car and go for a ride or even go to visit friends, and we think twice about whether or not we actually need to take any trip. Now that the restrictions are off and kids finally have the opportunity to enjoy more activities, we can't really afford the activities because everything just costs more. And business-wise, 9 months ago, I decided to take the leap and open my dream floral business. Rather than commit to a storefront, I chose to start my business from home and see if I could make a go of it, eventually saving up for a storefront. I also want to be able to contribute financially to offset the bills we're facing, but both of those are really difficult right now. For one thing, my shipping costs are increasing, and so are my delivery costs. I had to pay $70 freight on a $160 order yesterday. Costs of delivery must go up, which is understandable, but it's a cost I have to pass on to customers. I don't know how things will turn out for my business or my family, but we just try to keep our heads above water. The agonizing truth is that we do not represent the worst case scenario in the province. We're still doing okay. Many Albertan families, seniors, single parents are being crushed by the outrageous utility bills and high cost of living. We live in a province where the government is boasting about how much money is flowing in right now, which has nothing to do with them. And they puff up their feathers and toss out a few pennies that will ease no one's struggle. It's hard to have hope for the future when there's a UCP government in place. Thank you.
Thank you. As Shannon Phillips, our finance critic, offered yesterday, Alberta's NDP has some specific actions the UCP can take today if they want to take a stab at putting the well-being of Albertans on top of their priority list as they rewrite their no-help budget. The UCP can stop forcing Albertans to pay $1 billion more in income tax. They can immediately bring down some of the other heavy new costs they've imposed on Alberta families and Alberta businesses. They can also bring in a real natural gas rebate that helps families with bills that they have today, and they can take real action on electricity prices. The UCP could reattach benefits to inflation, like the Child and Family Benefit, the Seniors Benefit, income supports, and of course, the Assured Income for Severely Handicapped program. These actions would give Alberta families the opportunity to look to the future with hope instead of fear when they open the latest bill that's in their mailbox. I can't imagine that additional stress. Albertans deserve so much more than the UCP government's no-help budget. It was incredibly disappointing to see. So thank you, Nora, and we're happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, and just a reminder for those on the phone to use the star 9 function, and if you're on Zoom, to use the raise hand function. But we'll start if there are any questions in the room.
Maybe, actually. One of the things very interesting about Alberta is we have a very different, say, electricity system. We have private providers. It's very different than other provinces. How much of this cost increase can we put directly on the UCP, and how much would you say is the legacy of Rob Klein and 20 years of changes?
That's a really great question, and actually one I'm going to have to get back to you with details. I don't have those with me right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. We'll just go to questions on the phone or on Zoom. Just so remember, it's a raise hand function if you're on Zoom, and star 9 if you're on the phone. Seeing no questions, that will set our conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tens of thousands of Albertans have already provided their idea for how we can build Alberta's future. You can too by going to albertasfuture.ca.